they would actually feel the presence of God in the room. He would put helmets on people and give them low-volt electrical activity. And there's not been one thing in my life that's caused me to not believe. And a lot of my colleagues go, well, how can you believe in God if you're a scientist? And I'm like, do you know anything about physics? That the second law of physics is entropy. Things go from order to disorder. I'm like, I think there's an order to this, and that I'm here talking to you, and there's a purpose behind it that's greater than me. And if there is a God, and we communicate with God, there's got to be a neuroscience mechanism for that. And Michael Persinger is a researcher out of Laurentian University in Canada. He would put helmets on people and give them low-volt electrical activity. And whenever he would stimulate the right temporal lobe, people would get a sensed presence. They would actually feel the presence of God in the room. I just think that's so interesting. And does that mean that the brain makes up God, or that the brain has pathways to experience God? And I did a prayer study of conversational prayer, I pray for you, and speaking in tongues, which is channeling the Holy Spirit in Christian tradition. And it was so interesting. And there's actually been other studies, Andrew Newberg, who studied channelers in Brazil. They would channel the dead. And the idea is, if you're going to channel an outside spirit, you have to turn down the noise in your brain so that you can sort of hear the other frequencies. And that was our hypothesis. And 60% of our subjects dropped their brain activity when they were speaking in tongues, which I found so interesting. One completely activated the dopamine centers. And so I'm looking at him like, I bet you do this a lot. Prayer can change the brain. I mean, we talked about meditation changing the brain. And Dr. Newberg, again, studied Tibetan monks while they meditated and Franciscan nuns while they prayed, and they found very similar changes. You know, I believed in God since I can remember. And there's not been one thing in my life that's caused me to not believe. Going back to the second law of physics, that if it's random chance, it just doesn't make sense that randomly we would get a brain cell that has DNA and a mitochondria. It's like, it's statistically impossible. And I'm just like, we are so beautifully made. I just don't get the whole thing.